How's it going, beer runners? Today I'm going to be giving a quick update and review of how my Brooks Glycerin 18s have been holding up after 100 miles run. Cheers, beer runners. Thanks for joining me for a review of what was previously one of my favorite models of running shoes. That's the Brooks Glycerins. Specifically, I'm testing out the Brooks Glycerin 18s I just bought. Just to clarify, these are shoes that I bought with my own money. No one sent these to me. No one gave these to me to review or is influencing anything that I'm saying. I was just in need of a new pair of running shoes. I remembered loving the old pair of Brooks Glycerins that I had, so decided to give the 18s a shot. So if this is your first time on the channel, I hope you find the information helpful, and I hope you'll click that subscribe button down below. Give the video a thumbs up to help other people find it as well. But you may think this is an odd time to be putting out a video about the Brooks Glycerin 18s because Brooks just recently announced that February 1st is when the Glycerin 19s come out. But if you've been around for a while, you may have seen in past videos that I'm a relatively frugal runner, and one of my favorite things to do when I'm looking for new running shoes is figure out what's the newest shoe that's coming out and then try to get that old model, whatever the previous model of that shoe is, on sale. And that's true with the Brooks Glycerin 18, so they just dropped from $150 down to $130, so a nice $20 discount. Maybe that'll come down even more come February, but if you're looking for a new pair of running shoes, always love taking advantage of those sales. So real quick, first I'm just gonna kind of give a quick overview of the shoe in case you are unfamiliar. I mentioned the Brooks Glycerins were previously maybe my favorite all-around running shoe that I had tested. The last pair I had, I just really enjoyed. An incredibly comfortable shoe, similar to the past model that I had. This is a Brooks shoe made with their DNA Loft technology in the sole. What that means is they have a few different foam technologies similar to a lot of the running brands out there, and specifically their DNA Loft technology is focused on exactly what it sounds like, that comfort, that cushioned feel. This is a long run shoe, a recovery run shoe, something that's meant to cushion your feet. It's designed with comfort in mind. You can see it has a decent amount of foam in the sole. Overall, it's a 10 millimeter drop from heel to toe. That's a little more than I tend to like, but like I said, I really like the Glycerins that I had in the past, and usually when I'm looking for a long run shoe or a comfort shoe, I'm okay with a little bit more of a heel to toe drop. Similarly, it's a little heavier of a shoe, nothing too crazy, but 10.2 ounces. One of the updates they made with this model was just continuing to innovate and adapt with the material that they're using in the sole, redesigning that midsole so they can maximize the amount of cushion, the amount of foam that they're able to put in that sole, while also minimizing the amount of excess weight, reduce that weight as much as possible. So looking forward to seeing how that shakes out with the 19s. So enough about the basics about the shoe. Now I want to get into my actual experience running in the shoe. And again, I mentioned I love my old pair of Glycerins, continue to love the new pair as well. The Glycerin 18s are really just a bigger, better version of the shoe that I had before, or the shoe that I remember. And I'll go ahead and just start with the fit, the overall comfort running in this shoe. If you watched the first video I put out giving my initial thoughts of the Glycerin 18s, you may remember that when I first started testing these shoes, or when I took them on their first test run, I was coming off the virtual New York City Marathon in conjunction with a lot of high intensity workouts that I had done as well, and my feet were beat up. They were sore, they were tender, I was starting to develop blisters, and so I was initially a little bit worried about the fit of these shoes just because of how sensitive my feet were. Getting into specifics, what I mean by that, a couple things that I noticed. So as far as the overall upper of the shoe, again, trying to minimize the weight of these things, the majority of the upper is just a thin mesh or a double layer of mesh throughout the shoes. The only exception to that is in the toe. There's a nice little plastic toe guard that wraps around. That was one of the areas of concerns for me because my toes especially were incredibly sensitive when I first started testing these, and this I found to be relatively uncomfortable just because of how sore my toes were. And then the other piece you'll feel is in the heel of this shoe, there's a pretty solid piece of plastic, a little kind of heel cup to hold your heel in place, and I was also starting to get some blisters on the back side of my heel when I first started running in these. The blisters that were developing on my heel were something that I was worried about because I was noticing them, especially over the last 100 miles. They were flaring up, but then also not getting better that I'm used to. It seemed like every time I was wearing these shoes, that blister started to flare up again or started to get a little bit worse. And then I started doing some investigating. What can I do? I wasn't ready to give up on these shoes because, like I said, I love the feel of them so much. What could I do to kind of help abate some of those blisters that I was getting? And that led me to these little lacing holes right here on the side of the shoe. So if you're a runner, you probably know, and most of you probably know what these are for. I personally did not. In previous running shoes, I would always just end my lacing at the second to last hole, the one at the top, because I saw no need for these excess holes here. I knew they probably had a function, but I was not concerned with it. But I came to know these additional holes are used for heel locking, or locking your heel in place if you're experiencing any heel slip in a shoe. It can just help to improve the overall fit of the shoe to prevent some of those blisters from forming in the first place. Basically, the way it works is by using this last hole. If you're lacing here, when you tighten it, it's really just pulling down on the tongue, kind of tightening this portion of the shoe. Whereas if you add this heel lock, when you're pulling to tighten, the tension is pulling from the back of the shoe, so it pulls in some of this excess fabric and really locks the back of the shoe against your heel, again, to eliminate that heel slip, as small as it may be, so that you're reducing that irritation on the backside of your foot. So once I discovered that, fixed the lacing on these shoes, I've had no issues with the blisters. They've been healing no problem, and have not been getting any worse. So if you're like me and had no idea what these were, and you ever experience issues with blisters on the back of your heels, look into utilizing these heel lock loops, because it has been a lifesaver for these shoes. And then as far as the rest of the shoe is concerned, I've said it once, I'll say it a million times, they are just so incredibly comfortable. I've had no issues anymore with this toe guard at the front. As I mentioned, my feet were beat up when I was first running in these shoes, so it was sore when I first ran them, but my feet were just pretty much sore all the time as they recovered, and they recovered by me running in these shoes a lot more frequently. I've had no pain, no discomfort at all with that toe. The shoes are designed with Brooks's 3D fit print technology, and so you notice as soon as you put them on, the little cushion around the collar, it really just kind of fits your shoe like a glove. You have a lot of room inside, which is something I appreciate. I don't like to tighten my shoes too much down on my feet. I like the ability, or the openness for my feet to spread out within the shoe. That's definitely true within these. And then I can tighten it just on that heel lock, and that combined with kind of the support that the cuff provides, you just get a phenomenal feel for the fit of these shoes. Moving past the fit of the upper down into just the comfort of the ride of the shoe overall, I mentioned DNA Loft technology. This is a comfort running shoe. This is not a fast shoe. This is not a race day shoe. This is a shoe designed for those long runs, those recovery runs where you're spending a lot of time on feet, you're absorbing a lot of impact from the road, and these shoes are designed to help absorb that impact to save your legs from having to absorb it. I just love the feel of these shoes when you're running. It's soft enough so that you're not feeling the impact on your legs. You're not noticing that jarring step every time you're taking, especially in those later miles when your legs start to feel heavier. My legs just aren't feeling as fatigued by the end of the run, I think because of how efficient these are at helping to take that impact, that stress from running out of your legs and just absorbing it into the shoes themselves. Even still, the sole is firm enough so that you can still kind of feel that transition. I mentioned I'm a heel striker, so that transition from heel to toe, you're not losing connection with the ground, which is something that I appreciate. It's kind of a happy medium. Just an incredibly comfortable shoe. There's very little wear. I mean, we're only 100 miles in, so I wouldn't expect there to be too much, but they've done a good job covering the sole with just a thin rubber. Again, not overdoing it, giving you enough to give you good grip on the ground, but also not giving you so much that it adds to any weight that you don't necessarily want when you're running in a little bit heavier of a shoe already. They've done a good job finding a happy medium here. As I mentioned, am just a huge fan of Brooks in general, Brooks Glycerins. I love these shoes. I feel like they look really sleek. They're able to take a beating and continue to come back for more. Again, after 100 miles, very little wear aside from the dirt on the sole. They're just holding up remarkably well. Looking forward to putting plenty more miles on these things, and looking forward to being able to take the brunt of plenty more miles with not as much stress on my feet. And I'm really excited to see what they've done to change with the Glycerin 19s coming out at the beginning of February. Like I said, if you're looking for a new pair of running shoes and don't want to necessarily spend all that money, great opportunity to get the Glycerin 18s now on sale on the Brooks website. You can probably get them on Amazon and everything as well. But my pro tip, if you're looking for running shoes and don't want to break the bank, always look for what are the new shoes coming out, and then look for the previous model of that shoe, especially if it's a shoe you've run in the past that you truly enjoy. I hope you enjoyed the review. Can't recommend the Brooks Glycerin 18s enough. Really love this shoe. If you don't already, I hope you'll go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can see all the content coming out in the future. Click the thumbs up to help others find the video as well. And if you click that bell, you'll get notified anytime I post a video in the future. So thanks as always for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers.